Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Landry, and I have the distinct privilege and pleasure of leading the Cisco Wireless organization. And I want to thank you all, whether you're here in person or tuning in remotely. Thank you for joining us today and allowing us the time to talk to you and tell you about some of the great things we've been working on. We have a lot of content from a lot of folks from the team. And in an extreme example of irony, they put together a slide for me that is content free because I am the senior leader for the organization. So of course, I'm primarily content free. But I'm really proud of the team because we're going to be talking a lot about Wi-Fi 7, which is really the point that we've reached after years of effort to bring together our product portfolios in wireless. For many years, we've had our Aeronet turned Catalyst wireless portfolio. We've had our Meraki wireless portfolio. With Wi-Fi 6E, we started to bring those together. But with Wi-Fi 7, it's here. One Cisco wireless product line. We don't think in terms of Meraki or Catalyst. We don't design with that in mind. We think about how to deliver a single Cisco wireless product line. And this is the pattern that we are following at Cisco networking overall, right? We have delivered a single set of Wi-Fi 7 hardware, what we call common hardware, that can be deployed with on-premises or cloud-managed models. We have developed a common set of licensing so that people don't have to think about, do I need a license so that I can run this in a locally managed model, or do I need some Meraki cloud licenses? That too is in the past with Wi-Fi 7 and Cisco Wireless. Common licensing, common support model for them both. And we're bringing our management platforms together to deliver a single experience for managing and operating networks. And this is spreading across Cisco networking. This is what we're doing with switching. This is what we're doing with routing and SD-WAN. This is the path that we are on. And Cisco Wireless, as often as this is the case with wireless, is leading the way on implementing these changes. So I'm very, very proud of what the team has done here. And hopefully you'll notice that we have changed the way that we think and talk about wireless. So with that, I want to just comment on, what is wireless the team focused on, and then hand it off to the folks who can really go into some detail. And that is, amongst all of this, bringing together of our management models for networking. And wireless specifically, we're focused on three primary areas. We're focused on seamless mobility. We're focused on deep security on wireless. And of course, building technology that enables you to build the most reliable and self-reliant networks that you can with wireless. And you'll see examples of this in everything we talk about today. How are we delivering these areas? And this is where we're investing. This is what we can focus on now that we don't have to think about, is it a Catalyst solution or a Meraki solution? This is the focus for our Cisco Wireless team. So with that, I want to hand it off to Nicholas Anand and Stephen Orr, if he's still out there and we got the video sorted out, so that we can jump into some much more interesting discussion than my content-free wireless at a glance. So we'll be talking about exploring the power and security of Wi-Fi 7. Nicholas, please take it away.
My name is Nick Swiatek, joined here with Anand and the omnipresent Stephen Orr in the room remotely. In the next kind of 30 minutes or so, we're going to talk about the power and security of Wi-Fi 7. It's going to be a bit of an atypical presentation, because normally I'll be blabbering on for 30 minutes, but I'm probably only going to take 5 to 7 minutes, and I'm going to hand it off to Anand, who's going to talk about how do we actually implement Wi-Fi 7, the design challenges, WPA3, all of these interesting things that we've seen, the observations from client base, and we're going to go through all of that lovely data because we know you guys love it. And yes, we brought toys as well. Come on, Cisco Wireless presentation without some hardware? No way. Now, as Matt kind of alluded to and dovetailing off of that, something we've been working very hard on is meeting our customers where they are. And we're still fully committed to this. Now, one of the things we like to do here at Mobility Field Day is show up with a slide and say, we're going to do this. And we're going to check in 6 months later and say, hey, yeah, we're still doing it. Here's how we're doing it. And now, 2 years later, show up and say, yeah, we did it. Right? So for everything Cisco Wireless, everything Wi-Fi 7, it doesn't matter if you want to be fully cloud enabled, if you want to be fully on-prem in a mine somewhere under some security clients, or if you want to be hybrid in between, right? The big focus area of us taking these on-prem installations, connecting them to the cloud where it makes possible. So this is absolutely still a focus area, and we're pretty happy how far it's come so far. Great. Now, and of course, if there's questions, you guys will shout out. So another slide we introduced, Keith will remember because I remember him nodding. I want to say 2 years ago was this kind of, so where are we slide? We started with 6E. Now we have an updated version with 7. And what we would argue is we're right here. We're right here in the chasm of early adopters and kind of the early majority. And the reason why I want to say we're here is all the reasons and all the data that Anand is going to present, right? We still have some challenges with WPA3. There's still a few client operating systems that don't have all full support for Wi-Fi 7 and some security modes. There is one major hardware vendor out there that doesn't have a laptop yet with Wi-Fi 7. And once we get all that, I'm sure we're going to pass it. So again, coming back to something we presented 2 years ago, 18 months ago, 12 months ago, this is where we believe we are now. I hope you all agree. If you don't, I'm sure I'm going to hear about it on X or Blue Sky. That's kind of where we see the world right now. And of course, kind of consumer Wi-Fi 7, that's raced on. You get a gateway from an ISP, you got Wi-Fi 7 there. So let's talk about what we're doing for Wi-Fi 7. As I mentioned, no Cisco presentation without hardware. I brought a few toys. These were announced at Cisco Live in Europe a few months ago. I don't know if you all had a chance to see them. Royal, you can kind of pass that around, and Sam will pass this around. So these are the 72i and the 72h. Right, I'm going to put this on the table. These are our newest introduction to the family, kind of the 2x2 tier of access points, tri-band concurrent, products that we're super proud about. I'm going to go into details in just a moment. But before I do that, I do want to acknowledge the D1. When we built Wi-Fi 6E, we were the first to put an integrated directional antenna in an quote-unquote indoor access point. We believed there was a great way to solve low-power indoor for 6 gigahertz. We still believe that's a great idea, which is why we have a Wi-Fi 7 model. And the idea was so good that we saw other vendors copying it. So to those guys, thank you, because it really validated the idea. Thanks to everybody who implemented it. Anyways, and as Matt kind of alluded to, all of these are global use APs. We don't have regulatory domains anymore. We don't think about Meraki or Catalyst. You plug them in, they figure out where they need to be in the world and how they should operate. I think everybody here is past that. So.
It's called D1 and not just D. It's because we're going to have D2, D3.
So the question is, why is it D1? Is there going to be a D2? I get this question a lot. We did it kind of into the 6E generation. We called it D1, so we wanted to keep that lineage. And for kind of, is there a D2? What happens? Hold your question, and I'll address that a little later. Anyways. Diving into kind of the details of this, the two new APs, a few key highlights. I'm not going to read out all the specs, speeds, and feeds, but for the 72i, which of course replaces the 62i, it has one party trick that I want to make sure everybody here in the room sees, so I put a big arrow. This is tri-band 3 radio concurrent, but it also has a party trick. It has what we internally call MR44 mode. So if you have an environment where you don't care about 6 gigahertz, maybe you can't implement the security standards, maybe you have a cost-conscious customer, this access point can actually transform to run in a 2x2 plus 4x4 mode on the 5 gig band. So we know there are places in the world that don't have 6 gig. So this access point actually covers not just the, hey, I'm a tri-band 2x2 access point, but also covers other use cases and other deployment scenarios. And this is something we're extremely proud of. On the H side, tri-band, concurrent, and I say this because you cannot take it for a given for wall plate access points anymore these days that you have all 3 bands concurrent. Sam is smiling, he knows what I'm referring to. Key call out on this is, yes, we have 15 watts PoE out, so yes, you can still power phones, cameras, what have you. If you want to do that, you're going to give it more than 30 watts in, and we'll give you 15 watts out. Finally, as always, same brackets. We give our engineering teams an arguably very, very hard time to say, you must be backwards compatible with your brackets. So 72i, that's our normal bracket 1 and 2 you've had for kind of Cisco installations for what, 15 years or so. But on the H side, we've taken it a step further. It does not matter if you're coming from, say, a 9105W on the Catalyst side bracket or a Meraki 36H. This access point works with both brackets. So just makes it easier for you to refresh installs out there from a physical perspective. I'm just going to hold here for a second, see if there's any immediate questions. If not, I'll move on, but I'll just take a little sip of water here. You also saw me put here on the desk. The desk mount for it is something we do want to call out. It's been much requested in the past. We know a lot of you like to deploy these APs for small pop-up locations. Put it on a desk, plug some laptops into it for a remote or a fast deployment. We absolutely support that. And hey, we have the kind of accessories to go with it. You know what, Roel? You can pass that around if you don't mind.
Nick,
Go ahead.
did you find much difference in the heat dissipation when it's in one form or another?
So the question is, did we find a lot of challenges or differences in heat dissipation, vertical versus horizontal? Yes, that's why it's that way. Great question. Anyways, so what's next? Kind of the most exciting and most boring slide. Stay tuned for Cisco Live. We like new toys, but for that, you'll have to stay tuned for Cisco Live. And with that, Anand is going to come on stage and give us a lot of information about how to deploy with Wi-Fi 7 and the challenges and the latest from the client ecosystem.
Very quick intro about me. I'm Anand Gurumurthy, and I'm a senior technical leader, technical marketing focused on the Wi-Fi products and solutions. My primary focus is on the access point platforms. I work very closely with Nicholas and the other product managers. We work together a lot. So if you see one of us, the other one isn't very far behind. We are like the Y and Phi in Wi-Fi. So together we boost the signal strength and also double the channel width. So with that quick intro and that Wi-Fi panel, let me get into the session. So if my memory serves correct, it was exactly near back, spring 2024, MFD11, where we first started talking about Wi-Fi 7. I still remember the awesome presentation that Nicholas made, where he talked about the enterprise readiness of Wi-Fi 7. We have come a long way since then. This year, 2025 especially, has been super busy with the multiple access point platforms that we rolled out. The lab trials and the proof of concept is all going very well, and the deployment is also gaining momentum. So what I want to do in this session for the, say, next 15, 20 minutes or so, is to share with you the learnings, observations, the tips and tricks that will definitely help the folks who are deploying Wi-Fi 7, and also for all those lab trials. So with that, the very first topic that I want to touch upon is the Wi-Fi 7 client support, the availability in the market and its readiness, the client landscape. I'm sure you all agree with me that a rich and a stable Wi-Fi client ecosystem is absolutely necessary for the successful adoption of any Wi-Fi generation or standard, and Wi-Fi 7 is no exception there. So the first in this category is the Android. In fact, it was one of the first OS to support Wi-Fi 7. We use all those Samsung S24s and the Google Pixels to try out Wi-Fi 7 in the very, very early days. We have a very rich set of clients there, so all good there. The next in this category is the iPhone. We had a surprise from Apple last fall with the support of Wi-Fi 7 in their iPhone 16 and 16 Pro. This kind of really got the market, the Wi-Fi community excited. So I still remember seeing so many LinkedIn posts and the expos, people showing off their iPhone 16 Pro and the interop with the Wi-Fi 7 access points and the multi-link operations and their observations and so on. The iPhone 16e, which was introduced a couple of months back, don't seem to support Wi-Fi 7. They have restricted the capability to just Wi-Fi 6. They don't even seem to have the support for Wi-Fi 6E. The third in this category is an important one, Windows. Wi-Fi 7 Personal, it's available in Windows 11, 24H2, the public, the version, the software that's available. The Windows laptops are predominantly based on the Intel and the Qualcomm chipsets. Of late, we are seeing MediaTek chipsets also with the Windows laptops. Wi-Fi 7 for Enterprise, it's not available in the public version of Windows 11. It's available in the dev channels, the Canary builds, and the dev and beta builds. For folks who are trying out those dev builds, you might have noticed that the Wi-Fi 7 Enterprise, you're able to form the connection to the access point, but it doesn't successfully roam. There are roaming issues. It does a full auth. Microsoft has recently fixed that issue, and we got a confirmation. And the specific build numbers is listed in the slide. So if you want to go give a try, please to use these build numbers to see the roaming work in with those Wi-Fi 7 Enterprise. Of course, the last in the category is the the Mac OS and iPad OS, we still don't have support. Hopefully, we'll hear some good news from Apple very soon. And as you see, right, I mean, the client ecosystem is still evolving. But when you compare like about 8 months back, we have come a long way. And I'm sure the next time when we meet for the MFD, we're going to talk about a much larger client set. So I have a question for you guys. What do you think is the coolest feature in Wi-Fi 7? Any guesses? Any takes?
The number,
What did you say?
the 7.
MLO.
Let's say MLO.
Of course.
MLO. So your guess is as good as mine. When I initially read through the Wi-Fi 7 specs, the features, when I read about MLO, I was immediately convinced that this is going to be the most exciting feature in Wi-Fi 7. But I was convinced, but I want to be super assured. So I thought, let me turn out to this person, this brainy, intelligent, very trustworthy, always gives a neutral, unbiased answer. So I turned out to ChatGPT. So I asked ChatGPT, hey, what do you think is the coolest feature in Wi-Fi 7, right? So, and I posed all sorts of tricky questions. You know, ChatGPT was so consistent. It gave an anonymous answer always that MLO is the feature, right? Why am I picking this topic today? So I've been front-ending this Wi-Fi 7 activities, I'm front-ending the beta trials for the 5 platforms or so we've launched, and engaged in several customer conversations, the events, and so on. The 3 questions that we get on Wi-Fi 7 topic. First one is on MLO, how things work, their observations, and questions centered around all the MLO methods and so on. Second one is on the Wi-Fi 7 security, with all the confusion happening around the WPA3, the new AKMs and whatnot. And the third one is on the PoE requirements on the platform. I've never seen anyone asking about the 4K QAMs or the 320 megahertz channel width and things like that. Either it's too easy a feature, people take it for granted, or people don't care about it. I don't know. But I'm not. I was never asked a single question on those features. So of course, I'm not going to deep dive into all the methods of MLO. I'm pretty sure you're all aware of the different methods of MLO. MLO is, of course, is multi-link operation where the access points and the clients use multiple bands to, simultaneously exchange data traffic. And as per the Wi-Fi Alliance specs, right, there are these 3 methods that the access points have to implement: the MLSR and the EMLSR for a single radio, and the MLMR SDR for the multiple radio. And for the clients, they have to do the MLSR and either the EMLSR or the MLMR SDR. The 2 popular MLO methods are EMLSR and MLMR SDR. And when you compare these 2 methods, the popular methods EMLSR and MLMR SDR, there are pros and cons to each of these methods. With MLMR SDR, because of its multi-radio capability, obviously you get a better throughput when compared to EMLSR, but EMLSR is slightly easy on the battery and power. The earlier implementations of EMLSR, from our observations, what we have noticed is it seemed to be preferring a symmetric channel width. It's not from all the vendors, but some of the vendors, what we have seen. So it needs, like, say, if the MLO link is on the 5 and the 6 gigahertz bands, it needed like 40 plus 40 or 80 plus 80. If it was an asymmetric channel width, so it wasn't doing an MLO, it was doing a single link operation. When moved to MLMR SDR, most clients seem to do the 2.4 on the 5 or 2.4 on the 6. So you get an incremental throughput just because of the 20 megahertz channel addition. But I have to call out this Qualcomm Fast Connect 7800 high band simultaneous. They implement dual 5 gigahertz or a 5 plus 6 gigahertz. So we observed almost like close to 2x the throughput that you get with a single link. So there's a misconception that people think that moment they turn on MLO, they're going to get like an awesome throughput, 2x the throughput, but it's not. The devil is in the detail. Whether it's EMLSR or MLMR, how does the MLMR work? Does it do a 5 and 6 or a 2.4 and a 5? And if it's an EMLSR, is it an older driver or it's a newer driver? So there are lots of details here. So I thought I'll share these details so folks who are trying out MLO don't expect a magic throughput increase. Definitely, you'll see a throughput improvement and some latency improvements.
Before you move on, have you done any MLO testing with punctured channels? Where you got something punctured in 6 as part of an MLO link?
Yes, we have done the testing, but I can share with you the data, but we have done internal testing with all those combinations of, when MLO happening, puncturing, introducing, we have done those testing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love to see that.
So this is, we have done a lot of testing internally, of course. We took the popular clients out there and the different Wi-Fi 7 features and, what works and what are the limitations and so on. The couple of things that I want to call out. iOS, Apple phones do not support 320 megahertz yet. And Google Pixel, they've implemented MLO in slightly different way. Like they do an MLMR STR if the SSID is broadcasted on all 3 bands on the 2.4 and the 5. But they do an EMLSR if the SSID is broadcasted just on the 5 and 6 gigahertz band. So if you look at all the other vendors, they do either EMLSR or MLMR STR. Google Pix does things slightly differently. Moving on to the next important topic on the Wi-Fi 7 security. This is a recap of the Wi-Fi 7 security requirements. Like Wi-Fi 6E, Wi-Fi 7 has mandated the need for WPA3. It's minimal and it's needed for certifications and operation. There are new AKMs that have been added. SAE extension key and FTSA extension key that translates 24 and 25. There are also enhanced cipher requirements for OW and WPA3 personnel, and we also need PMFS mandatory. So this table kind of lists all the different generations of Wi-Fi and all the security requirements here. WPA3 is something not new. It's not like that's been happening just last couple of years. It was needed. It was mandatory and was needed for Wi-Fi 6 certification. And PMF was happening even prior to that. PMF has been there for many years now. I don't even remember the year when it was first introduced. The key difference between Wi-Fi 7 and Wi-Fi 6E is the enhanced cipher requirements on the OWE and the enhanced AKM, the new AKM additions on the WPA3 personnel and also the new cipher addition. As far as the enterprise is concerned, it's exactly the same. So there's no difference there. So in the early days, it was a very relaxed implementation from what we have seen. Like the client vendors were not strictly following the standards. They can work just with an SAE or even very, very earlier dev builds. We have seen WPA to PSK work with kind of a Wi-Fi 7. So it was a very relaxed implementation from the client side. So what we did on the infrastructure side, we also want to be relaxed. And because to allow all the clients, we didn't want to put the restrictions. But going forward, we're going to enforce these requirements very strictly. Just follow the specs. And we're also seeing the clients also adhering to the standards. So, and it's going to be a very strict enforcement. If you try out now, there are chances you might see WPA3 with the SAE just work fine with Wi-Fi 7 and MLO. Another question, it's a simple question, but I do get this question. Because of all this WPA3 requirements, some people think that maybe the Wi-Fi 7 APs cannot broadcast WLAN with the lowest security. Yes, it can. The only restriction, of course, is the client is going to connect to a 2.4 and a 5 gigahertz band, and its capability is restricted to 11AX. It cannot connect to the 6 gigahertz band. It cannot get the 11B rates and the MLO.
So instead of backwards compatibility, what's the talk track on forward compatibility with Wi-Fi 6E platforms that need to run GCMP 256 for roaming?
I'm going to cover that.
Okay.
I do. Please hang in there for a few minutes.
Yep.
I'm going to touch upon that. So, yeah. I've been reminded that I have only 5 more minutes, but I have a lot more slides to cover. But I'm just going to go rush through stuff. And so with all this, the new WPA3 requirements, what are the options do we have? How do we go about designing our WLANs? These are all the Cisco's recommendations. First, what we call as an all-in option, where you go migrate all your WLANs to your WPA3 network or OW network. So it's going to make your networks very secure, but is it a practical one? No, not a practical one, because there are going to be many clients that's going to be stranded out there. The second one is what we call as the multiple SSID option. You leave your existing SSIDs as such and create new SSIDs with the new security requirements for the Wi-Fi 6E and Wi-Fi 7 needs. It's very flexible, but it's just an additional overhead involved in terms of maintaining the SSIDs both on the infrastructure side as well as on the client side. The third one is what we call as an one SSID, wherein some clients are very particular about the branding of the SSID name. Like the classic example is EDUCAUSE. So they want to support the legacy clients with the legacy security as well as the newer clients with the newer security. It's absolutely possible. We use this transition mode, so the mixed mode, to achieve the same. And as I mentioned, the Wi-Fi 7 APs can broadcast SSIDs with the lower security, just cannot connect to 6 GHz band and no 11B rates and the MLO. So how do you go about this option 3, which is the most conservative option? You employ the mixed mode, select the ciphers as AES and GCMP 256 if it's personal, and select the AKMs, PSK, SAE, SAE extension key, and all this FT counterparts. So everyone is going to be happy. The WPA2 clients can connect. The Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E clients capable of doing WPA3 can connect with SAE, and Wi-Fi 7 clients can do with the SAE extension key. So very, very similar concept on the enterprise side as well.
Go back.
Yep.
This dialog box is right. All of the various and sundry AKMs and checkboxes and whatever is like a bazooka and looks nothing like the way Meraki has implemented Wi-Fi security, or frankly any of your competitors. Why does this exist? Why doesn't this look like everybody else's? Hey, you want Wi-Fi 7? Yes or no? Like, this feels overly complicated to the nth degree.
So the wireless LAN control, the idea behind this, we have so many knobs, just this knobs. Like, we want to give every single knob that you can. But if you had played around with recent code, when you select the AKMs or the ciphers, there is the pop-up that we put in red color.
I know, and you have to chase the red alerts all over as you're trying to figure out which boxes to push. It's awful. So no offense, but wasn't sure if you had any commentary on why this didn't look more Meraki-like, especially with the convergence.
Feedback taken, but we'll think about it and then see what is the best that we can do here.
So I am curious on that, because I was kind of scratching my head on the same thing. You have a box for fast transition. Then under your AKMs, you also have your FT AKMs. So if you enable fast transition, does that automatically check the FT boxes for your AKM?
Good question. The actual implementations, no, we do not enable automatically. We just enable them and then you choose what you want to do.
Okay.
So let's say in this WPA2, WPA3 case, right? So maybe I don't want to do FTSAE, but I want to do FTSAE extension key. So I just want to check mark that. I don't enable all the default FT options out there. It's just that we have given all the knobs and then you pick and choose what you want.
Okay.
Yeah. So moving on, the idea is very same on the .1x. One question, so we have made use of this transition modes and the mixed modes to take care of the lower security, the legacy clients and the newer clients. But the question is about, can I do the same thing with OWE transition? No, you cannot. The specs clearly calls out that you cannot use OWE transition for the 6 GHz band and Wi-Fi 7. So it's going to be a separate SSID if you want to use your guest SSID. Like, you can still use OWE transition, but you're going to be restricted only to the 2.4 and the 5 GHz bands, right? You have to use an OWE in case you want to use the 6 GHz band or the Wi-Fi 7. This is not something Cisco is doing anything special here. This is the specs. And if you take the wireless LAN controller today, we have given the flexibility, but going forward, we're going to be super strict and we're going to restrict what you can do with the OWE transition. So there are a few client join behaviors, how it works and so on, but it's straightforward. But in the interest of time, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to skip a couple of slides and then get into the roaming question that Sam was asking about. This is a Wi-Fi 7 client roam behavior. I'm taking an example of a personal. The WLAN profile is WPA3 personal and the AKM, what we call the configured as SC extension key, and the cipher as both AES and the GCMP 256. Let's say there is a Wi-Fi 7 client that initially joins with the GCMP 256. It can do a seamless roam to a Wi-Fi 6 AP, and we have backported these new AKMs on the Wi-Fi 6E APs. And our Wi-Fi 6E APs can support GCMP 256 as well. So it's going to be a seamless roam.
How far back is that in platforms is that supported?
As far as the AKMs are concerned, you can go all the way till your Wave 2 APs.
Wave 2.
Yeah. But ciphers, it kind of mixed in the Wi-Fi 6 platform. Some Wi-Fi 6 platforms do GCMP 256, some do not do because of the underlying chipset. So can I do a seamless roam with Wi-Fi 6? Yes, as long as the AKM matches and the cipher matches. And the next one is there is a Wi-Fi 6 AP that cannot do a GCMP 256, and it can do only AES. If the wireless client initially joined with AES, right, it can do a seamless roam. But if you are joined with a GCMP 256, it cannot do a seamless roam. It has to disconnect and rejoin. A very similar, what's happening? Yeah. So just a second. Have I tested this in the lab? Yes, I've absolutely tested this in the lab. And it's just the proof of the Wireshark capture where I roamed a Wi-Fi 7 client starting from a Wi-Fi 7 AP to a Wi-Fi 6 AP. The 9130 AP is to be very precise. And there are some red boxes that are marked there just to show the nitty-gritties in terms of what MAC address it uses because of the MLO functionality. But those are all the details, and very similar behavior with Wi-Fi's client roam behavior with OWE. And then with enterprise, life is easy. It's supposed to be a seamless roam.
You have lots of data from your cloud of clients. Do you have any data showing how, in the real world, with real clients, how effective this is? Does it actually do what it's planned?
Yogesh or Nicholas or someone, like, can I take your help in terms of, I want to take your help here. So there's a question here.
Sure thing.
So the question is about...
Since you have all the cloud data of lots and lots of clients, millions of them, are they actually doing this Wi-Fi 7 client roaming behavior?
Really good question. We're looking into it. And then we discovered something, I'm going to be honest, a little interesting. I don't know if the camera see me. What's a roam? Because, you know, as we in the past saw roams as being on a band, and then there's another band, and how do you measure roams? So we're enhancing our data pipelines right now to give us the right answer. Because, you know, if you just look at it was a one band, now it's another band. Well, with MLO, it's not really a roam. It's a, you know.
But even pre-MLO, you should have pre-MLO.
Oh, yeah. And pre-MLO with roaming analytics, right? We have that in Dashboard today, right? So we have that data and we show it. But with MLO, it got a little more funky. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I have it for my customer. You have it for all customers.
Yep.
So I was asking more of a broader question. Are you finding clients to be, are Wi-Fi 7 clients more sticky on 6? Do they like 6 more? Are Wi-Fi 6E clients better or worse than Wi-Fi 7 clients?
So the short answer, and I just saw Tawny do the whole hands thing in the background, it depends on the client type. Generally, we've seen Apple being a little nicer in 6 gig, depending on the software version. Because I know when we started testing internally, there was a lot of staying away from 6 gig almost. And we called up a few people and said, oh, what's going on here? Right. And as the software version, that the driver version gone, we've seen the balancing towards 6 and like being a lot better. So, I mean, the old classic, hey, update your drivers still very much holds true for kind of being non-sticky, even more so now.
If I heard it correctly, Tony is saying that we have 5 more minutes. So if you have any questions, we can take more questions. Otherwise...
I mean, can we go back and dig into roaming? Because it feels like there's a lot there to unpack.
Yep. You want to go enterprise or you want to go OWE?
Well, I mean, I think I think what I'm interested in is understanding where the pitfalls are from an industry perspective, right? Mm-hmm. When I'm sitting in front of a client doing this, what scenario are they going to end up in where they're moving clients throughout their facility, and how is it going to break and when is it going to break? Does this lead to any particular deployment guidelines as far as like salt and peppering of APs or keeping them together or roam boundaries or don't even bother trying until you're all Wi-Fi 7? Like, what's the practical upshot of this? Because we all know, how do we fix it for customers who are trying to adopt Wi-Fi 7 now?
Let me give you this answer. The Wi-Fi 7, right? The journey is evolving. First, we were so focused on just the basic connectivity, making sure the MLO works. And we have clients today that cannot do enterprise roaming in Wi-Fi 7. I talked about the Wi-Fi, the laptop, the Windows laptops, right? So we have gotten it to a point where at the lab level, right, the testing, I've ensured that I can do roaming. We're just figuring out this like onion peeling effort that's happening. We are planning to come up with such the deployment guide and the best practices and whatnot. What is going there? Give us some time. We'll get there. But we are trying to ensure we are having brainstorming and then looking up at all the possible scenarios. What should work? What should not? What all should work? Right. So we're working on that, and we're getting there. Today there are issues, even just some basic roaming. We are trying to target those issues. But we'll get there with a proper kind of a design guide.
Hey, just real quick, Sam, it's Steven, just a question for you. So when you talk about roaming, I think just to be a little bit pedantic on this, are you talking about cross ACAM roaming or are you talking about...
No, cross ACAM roaming. Yeah,
okay.
Problematic.
Yes. Yeah, so in the slide that Anand has up here, this isn't cross ACAM roaming, right? This is renegotiation of cipher suites during the roam. So if I was going from Wi-Fi 6, 6E, which is using AES or GCMP to a Wi-Fi 7 MLO, all I'm doing at that point is renegotiating the cipher suites. If I were going from Wi-Fi 6E to Wi-Fi 7 MLO in an enterprise scenario, again, same thing, all I'm renegotiating is the cipher suites.
Okay.
If it was SAE, I'd actually have to renegotiate the actual ACAM because it's ACAM 24. So that's where some of the friction might be, and depending upon how the station handles that cross ACAM movement going forward. And that's really station dependent.
And it's SAE dependent. It's SAE is what's afflicted here.
Right, because it's a different, so in Wi-Fi 6, 6E, it's ACAM 8, and then we have the new ACAMs in Wi-Fi 7. So that's the challenge. You cannot use, and I'll use this terminology, EHT and MLO, so enhanced throughput data rates, are extremely high throughput data rates, and multi-link operation are synonymous. Everybody uses them interchangeably. So you cannot have an EHT MLO connection without ACAM 24 for SAE.
Right, but you can have a Wi-Fi 7 connection that's non-MLO.
No, a Wi-Fi 7 connection would be defined by either extremely high throughput or MLO. So you cannot use extremely high throughput data rates
without having an MLO.
Without having an MLO, yeah.
Without the correct AKM.
Okay.
So the packet capture, what I have is exactly like I want to prove the idea that as long as this AKMs are all implemented as access point, the early generation access point, it's going to be a seamless room, which is what we have done, like implementing the SE extension key, right?
Yeah.
So we have taken an example of GCAP 256, where I can demonstrate a successful room.
Yeah.
Right. So if the client, if the early generation access points, if I do not implement the new extension keys, then there is definitely, obviously, as Stephen Orr mentioned, we're going to have a problem in roaming.
Well, and it brings up a ton of deployment scenarios where I feel like if you have legacy sites with legacy controllers with mobility groups built between the new controllers or Wi-Fi 5 APs or even older, right? None of that stuff's going to work well, right? Basically, no roaming from old generation into new generation and back and forth, right? Not graceful.
Well, non-graceful sense. It's like if you do FT, anything with SHA-1 has also been removed from Wi-Fi 7 connections. So if you had a roaming domain with 802, FT 802.1x using SHA-1, you couldn't have it in the same roaming mobility domain. So you have to be careful on which, again, this is across all vendors, right? Like when building these roaming domains, knowing which ACAMs, which APs support.
Hey, Stephen. Since you're here,
Yeah.
the quick question is, actually, I guess Sam asked this, and then JD said something about it with the view from one of the slides that had all of the knobs and the buttons with the different AKMs, several slides back. And the question was, why would you manually configure some of that? And I feel like we have two ends of the spectrum right now where products either don't show you what they're doing and you have no clue unless you look at it over the air, or you have a bunch of knobs and then a lot of people don't know what all the different knobs do. What is your view or Cisco's view on the decisions you're making as to when those are exposed?
Yeah, so it's a great question, JJ. I think it's always a work in progress. There's always a balance between the right amount of security and the right amount of operational simplicity. And, sometimes in our case, we need a Rosetta Stone to actually figure out what you want to configure. And I also think there's a little bit around the mental model of how do I get from what I'm thinking about to what operational model I want without being a cryptographer. So again, it's a work in progress. We're striking a balance between all the capabilities between what we have in dashboard and what we have in Catalyst Center and on-prem on the controllers. So point taken. Yes, I think we could do a little bit better there. And that's also what we're trying to do in the industry as well, is help end users or network operators when you make the selections consistent so that you don't kind of get yourself in a bind or create these roaming issues or create security issues that you're unaware of or unintended consequences.
Yeah, because I know that sounds like a niche question, but it impacts so much of whether a client can connect at all and whether it can move and participate in the rest of the network. Thank you.